Spy Case Keeps Cuba in Perspective by Investors Business Daily. Read by OutloudOpinion.com, Monday, June 8th, 2009. Spy Case Keeps Cuba in Perspective by Investors Business Daily. National security. Amid all the neighborly talk about new U.S. efforts to engage Cuba, the arrest of a State Department official as a Cuban spy ought to be a wake-up call about the intentions of the Castro dictatorship. Last Friday, federal agents arrested Walter Kendall Myers, 72, and his wife Gwendolyn, 71, as unregistered Cuban agents. The Fed said the pair had been spying for Cuba since 1979, and, like other agents in service to the Castro regime, didn't do it for money, but out of sympathy for communism and a loathing of the United States. For that, they stole not only U.S. secrets to benefit the regime, but probably non-Cuba related secrets too, given the secrets the Castros hand to American enemies such as Iran. Myers also was in a position to undermine U.S. diplomats working at the U.S. interest section in Havana. Worse still, he could have influenced U.S. policy against our own interests. That's a heavy price to pay for the U.S. opening to Cuba that made Myers' recruitment possible. He wormed his way into the State Department after a legal trip to Cuba in 1978, made possible by Jimmy Carter, the president who thought Americans had an, quote, inordinate fear of communism, end quote. The Obama administration is contemplating a similar opening now. It goes hand in hand with talk of lifting the Cuban trade embargo and the already lifted restrictions on travel and telecommunications. Taken together, all these will be new opportunities for more harm by the Castro brothers. Contrary to conventional thinking, the Castros aren't interested in academic exchanges, telecommunications, or travel, despite their calls for it. They consider us an enemy they want to neutralize by any means necessary. So they use the weak man's method, covert influence. For them, travel, telecommunications, and academic exchanges make it easier to recruit agents. Fact is, Cuba is a police state and does one and only one thing well: spy. Pretending to be a mendicant republic that poses no threat to the U.S., the Cubans have a clever scheme. Unlike other spy services, they recruit only ideologically motivated agents like Myers. That enables its agents to skirt security screening to some extent. Most of the scrutiny is designed to find vulnerabilities, such as financial problems that make a prospective spy more willing to take cash. Ideological motives are harder to judge. In fact, security men are discouraged from considering an applicant's politics, though it's the only quality Cuba looks for. So the Castroites succeed where other countries that spy on us fail. It's also interesting that Myers climbed into the State Department's Bureau of Intelligence and Research from a low level, avoiding polygraph tests and building up a reservoir of goodwill with fellow employees over years to ensure he could advance with less screening. This roughly parallels how Defense Intelligence Agency analyst Ana Montes, another damaging Cuban agent convicted in 2002, moved up in her organization. Myers' breach wouldn't have been as easy if it weren't for a political atmosphere that enabled him to essentially hide in plain sight. His anti-Americanism raised no eyebrows because it was consistent with the thinking in his social circle and at Johns Hopkins University, where he taught U.S.-UK relations. Quote, "We were all appalled by the Bush years," end quote, one of his neighbors told the Washington Post. A red flag went up in 2006 when Toby Harnden, Washington editor of the Telegraph of London, reported remarks Myers made at a public event on U.S.-UK relations at Johns Hopkins. Myers directly undercut the alliance, no doubt pleasing both Cuba and Iran by saying he hoped the UK would break from the U.S. and move closer to Europe. That may be standard palaver in academia, but coming from a State Department official, it was shocking. The statement also may have been an intentional bid to sow dissent among allies at a time when the Castro regime was trying to get Europe to drop the sanctions it had placed on Cuba for human rights violations. As we talk of, quote, turning a new page, end quote, with Cuba, this spy case reminds us that the Castro regime still doesn't wish us well, that it's really interested in undercutting the U.S., planting agents and trying to influence policy to our detriment. As the Obama administration prepares to open up, it's certain that the Castroite agents are plotting their next recruitments now. Copyright Investors Business Daily. Read by OutloudOpinion. For more podcasts, go to ibdeditorials.com and OutloudOpinion.com.